So this is going to be a review of one of the many DC Dark Horse crossovers that came out during the the late 90s, early 2000s, and that is Superman vs. Terminator, Death to the Future. Now, this comic is done by Alan Grant, and it's not to say it's a terrible comic, it's not, but it's not one of the better crossovers from DC and Dark Horse that they did. It's not bad, but it's not great either. The main thing that suffers is the artwork, because the artwork is very disproportionate and it's very distracting. Like, I swear to God, Superman looks like fucking Sylvester Stallone in some scenes. Now, the story is, it's a 4-part story that takes place, I guess you could say, in between, like, right after Terminator 2, where the story is that Sarah and Connor are now on the run, and they're hiding out in Metropolis, and what happens is that, and this is the stupidest thing ever, that John Connor puts his name in for a raffle to get a new bike, and the Terminators find him through that. I'm not joking, the future savior of mankind puts his name in and risks all of humanity for a bike, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, Superman fights some Terminators he fights a pair of Terminators who have superhuman capabilities. They realize, oh, we're fighting Superman. Initiate certain abilities, I guess. So, what happens later on in the issue is that Superman gets sucked into a temporal vortex and thrown into the future, leaving John and Sarah in the care of Supergirl. Not Kara Zor-El, but Linda Danvers. I think it's Linda No, I think it's supposed to be Linda. I could be wrong. There were so many pre-crisis Supergirl girls before Kara Zor-El that I could hardly give even the smallest of shits who it is, but yeah. Throughout the comic, the rest of the 3 issues continue on, but the main villain is Skynet and Cyborg Superman, because yeah, in the late 90s, 2000s, Cyborg Superman was this big thing. So Hank Henshaw makes contact with Skynet in the future, and he and this new Terminator are set out to make sure the timeline that Skynet rules is set. Meanwhile, Superman's in the future and teams up with Future Steel, John Henry Irons, and John Connor to fight Skynet, who has become Sky-1, the living embodiment of Skynet. I know, it's weird. And meanwhile, in the past, you have John and Sarah now being protected by Superboy and Supergirl, while Cyborg Superman and the other Terminator, who I guess is supposed to be like the TX from Terminator 3. Yeah, Terminatrix. That's it. And yeah, this isn't to say it's a bad comic. It has some cool concept, but the artwork is very distracting, and the whole plot line, because the thing is that the Terminators that's it, they're robots. Superman can smash these robots with little to no ease, so any major threat that they needed to be upgraded. Hell, they needed to think of some really BS reasons to have these Terminators actually put up a fight against Superman, and even then, they're not really the biggest of threats, really. The big thing is that, of course, this is the DC universe, now part of the Terminator universe in this crossover. And I would have loved to have seen, we do get in this version, when Superman is sent to the year 2032, Steel talks about how when shit got real, he was one of the last few heroes that survived. And I always wondered, who else would have survived, this kind of global apocalypse? Who could have survived a huge, just complete and utter wipeout of heroes? I'm pretty sure somewhere, I would have liked to have seen, like, some version, like, maybe, Wonder Woman, I would imagine, would have been dead, Green Lantern as well, Flash, possibly. How much you bet if Alan Grant was possible, he would have written that Batman is still alive somewhere fighting machines in Gotham? I think it'd be pretty funny, because Christian Bale was, never mind, you'd get the joke. But yeah, I bet you, because Alan Grant did do a lot of Batman comics in his run, he did do several. How much you bet that he would have done? How much you guys bet that he would have done some? He would have written that Batman is still alive in this universe. What else is there to say about this comic? It's pretty simple. You know, it's Terminator. There's a few other things I actually kind of want to talk about in regards to this crossover. Is that you have Sky One, which is the embodiment of Skynet, because you know that works so well for Matt. For Matt Smithinator in Terminator Genesis. But I will give it to Sky One, is that Sky One actually runs protocols to fight Superman and uses like a kryptonite beam, which I'm like, okay, of course, if it knew that Superman was coming, of course it would have protocols to fight Superman, so it's only the most logical of sense. Hank Henshaw, the cyborg Superman, he doesn't really play into much of this story other than, I must kill John Connor and then Skynet will like me, right? Skynet will definitely like me. Notice me, Skynet Senpai. No, that's really what it amounts to for Cyborg Superman, is that the whole thing about him is that it's just him teaming up with the Terminatrix and the other Terminators that come in different variations the more and more they go. You got also, I think Steel, in the past Steel shows up as well, so to protect Sarah as well. Even Lois Lane gets a hand in helping the others. But yeah, the Superman family is fighting all these different Terminators, and Cyborg Superman is like, notice me, Robo-senpai. If you ever read this comic, that's all you're gonna think is, notice me, Robo-senpai. Hashtag Robo-senpai. Oh, God. What is wrong with me? Anyway, this isn't a terrible comic, but like I said, this isn't one of the greatest of the DC Dark Horse crossovers. If you really want to read like really good ones, I'd of course direct you to Superman, Alien, and Batman vs. Predator. Those are really fantastic, and even to extent some of the sequels to Batman vs. Predator have their merits. But there are some really good ones. There's some okay ones. I would rank this along with Superman vs. Predator. Yeah, it's weird. Superman got outside of Superman vs. Aliens and Superman Madman, which Superman Madman Hullabaloo is amazing. I've never read a lot of Madman comics, but it's such a well done comic. It's so weird and bizarre by Mike Allred that I should review that sometime, because that's an amazing comic that I absolutely loved, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Madman. Superman Madman Hullabaloo is spectacular. There's a great, just real quick, because I know I'm getting off topic, there's a great scene where Superman and Madman are having this conversation, does a man who can do anything believe in God? And it's a great moment between Superman and Madman talking about the existence of God, and does Superman, a man who can do anything, have that same belief? And I'm like, that is so amazing. Anyway, I should really do a review of Superman Madman. The more I talk about it, the more I really want to just do that. Anyway, oh wait, Madman was I think Madman was an Image comic, now that I think about it. Could be wrong, whatever. I'm going to give myself a headache thinking about it. But anyway, because now I've gone totally off track. This, like I said, not the best crossover ever, but it's not terrible. The artwork is very hit and miss, especially with the facial, especially around the face, and some body types are very off key. It gets really distracting sometimes. But all in all, it's okay. I would just suggest getting this. If you find it like a $5 bin, then knock yourself out. But yeah. If you want to look for really great Terminator crossovers, by the way, look for Frank Miller's RoboCop vs. Terminator. I know I'm suggesting a Frank Miller comic, but trust me, this is like Frank Miller before he went out there Frank Miller. It also has Walt Simonson on artwork, so yay. But anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.